real deals in real estate. Welcome to the Real Deal Podcast with Todd Hearn.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Todd Hearn with the Real Deal Podcast. So you and Miss Gail.
Yep.
So how did y'all meet? I love this story, by the way.
This is a great story because, and Gail will appreciate this story because I know she's going to listen to this. And I'm going to be just blunt. I'm not going to get too bad, but
no matter. You can say whatever you want.
I'm going to be pretty blunt here. So, growing up, let's just say that.
Just remember, she might watch it.
Yeah, I know, and I'm not going to get too because she doesn't like this part of it at all. Pre-Tom, before Gail, pre-Gail, whatever. I had went out with more than a couple, whatever, girls. Whatever. So I had a little sports car back in Fairview. I poured concrete, doing whatever I wanted to do. I'd always go to one of my buddy's house when he'd have his birthday parties. And it was so funny that the day I'm there, all these kids are running around like crazy. We'll sit there and watch football and drink a beer, and all these kids are running in front of you. And you're like, I love kids, but they're just in front of the football TV. You can't see the game, and everything's going on. Well, then Miss Gail walked in, and I didn't know who she was. My buddy is sitting to the left of me, and I watch her go across, and he's looking at me. And I mean, this is a guy I grew up with. This is a guy I've known me since fourth grade, and we were in Fairview, Tennessee at the time. And he looks at me, and I said, "What's wrong?" He says, "Tom, she is a good girl. Please leave her alone." And I'm like, "What does that mean?" And he says, "You know exactly what that means. She is a good girl. Leave her alone." So I sat there, and that's when it kind of hit me. I'm thinking, well, he's a guy that's known me since the fourth grade. He's sitting there telling me my character is not very well, I guess. But anyway, what happened is she had told me, she had saw me shooting basketball. She said, "Yeah, you could tell that you were very conceited. And you're built real well and all this, but you could just," I said, "I wasn't conceited back then. I was real convinced." Well, that was even worse to say you're convinced. That's even worse to say to a gal, especially when you're trying to get to know her. So let's just say she blew me off at that party. So I saw her again. I was trying to, at the time, I think I was going out with a couple gals, and I saw her again. And I said, "Hey, you didn't return my phone call." And she blew me off again. Now, when I tell this story, I'm telling the true version of the story. There's another version I like that's even better, that she didn't blow me off and all this, but she blew me off 3 times. Blew me off. And that's when I knew I had to clear my calendar and just focus on her. And that's what I did. I cleared my calendar, focused on her. That's how I met Gail.
Persistence.
I did not
do not quit.
When I mean clear my calendar.
You found what you wanted, and that was it. That was all you wanted.
Well, I think I was 20. Let's see. I got married when I was 30. I was 26 at the time. I dated Gail for 3 years, married her when I was 30. We have been together. Our 25th anniversary was this past March. We have been together 28 years. So I guess when she walked in front of me, she caught me at the right time in life too. And that's how the story went. And it's been an up and down. I'm a concrete guy at heart. I'm kind of stubborn. I've learned how to talk to people. You go through so many changes in life. It depends on how you're raised too. Not picking on how I was raised, but some of us aren't raised in the structure of like your mom. Your mom and dad were great parents. They was always there and stuff like that. My mom did the best she could do, and so things happen, and so you pick up some of those traits growing up. So I had to get through all that stuff that you pick up when you're younger, and I don't care who you are. When you're younger, you pick up stuff that you take into life, and as you're an adult. But we worked through all that, and we have a great marriage. She's a great gal. Still in love with her, and I still like watching her butt. Be honest with you, when it walks across my kitchen, I still watch it. I was watching it this morning. I'll watch it this afternoon, and we'll just go from there. Still head over heels in love with her.
I'm not going to comment on it.
Well, you asked the true story.
I know, and I appreciate that. I like.
I'm not going. So I like to say that she followed me around and all that stuff, but no, I did all the chasing. Got blew off like it was embarrassing.
Now, some things never change. I still see that happen occasionally.
Oh, she's tough. I tell you, she's tough.
So, All right, so you did say you were at a birthday party when you met her and stuff, so that meant obviously she had kids.
Yes.
So how did, I know me and you have a common bond
Yeah.
there where we both married women that already had children.
Yeah.
And you know, and I liked what I read from someone that, you know, whenever you have a child, you didn't get to pick them, they didn't get to pick you. But whenever you're marrying a lady that has children, you're not just marrying her. It's everybody. It's a package deal.
Yeah.
And so, you know, as a husband, and you become a father, you choose them.
Right.
And so, just what is your, you know, how did that go? How was that transition as far as going into learning curve? I know what it was for me, and so I was just curious what that learning curve is for you.
I tell you, it's hard. I'll be honest with you, especially with my background going into, and one of my buddies reminded me, Tom, you were never going to marry somebody that had kids. And I'm like, well, when your heart knows, and you got to grow up some. And I'll have to say this, I was willing to learn for Gail, and I didn't know what I was going to do with little kids. Gail had 3, and she'd went through a divorce, and when I met Gail, this will tell you a little bit about Gail. When I met Gail, she was raising kids, had her own house, worked a full-time job, and was going to college full-time.
Yeah, that's a hefty schedule.
She graduated with honors from college.
No wonder she didn't have time for you.
She didn't have no time for me. I just wanted 10 minutes. At least she could return a phone call, but that's a whole different subject. But that's the character of who I met, and I knew then that I'm like, man, this lady's a worker. I've always had to work for everything I've gotten, and that both of us, nobody's gave either one of us anything. We've had to work for our stuff, and she was a worker, and I respected that. Even as much as I had all my other stuff going on, I could tell that she was a great gal that way. She was a good mom. She was taking care of her kids. As soon as she got out of college, she got an aviation management degree. Well, McDonnell Douglas was recruiting out of St. Louis, and she was top of her class. They recruited her right off the bat. That's how we ended up in St. Louis before, you know, right after that. And I think you got to treat the kids like they're your own too. That's the main thing.
That was a good point. That was an awesome point.
Well, I mean, you know, you take a little guy. When I was younger, I had a good stepdad. My biological dad was just not a good dude. So I had a good stepdad, but the one thing he always did was say, "This is my stepson," and I'm thinking, well, no, if you know, I never liked that. So I never did that. So most people don't even know they're not my biological kids. I talk so much about Chad and Benjamin and Alex that everybody, they're like, and some of them say, oh, he looks just like you. I'm like, oh, you know, he's a good looking guy then. But they don't even know that because I talk so much about the boys, and you got to treat them like they're your own. When I took that on, I didn't care about child support. I didn't care about any of that stuff. Matter of fact, I told them, you don't have to pay anymore. I could care less. I didn't know a lot of stuff about raising kids, but I was going to learn. And I was terrible at first. Oh my God, I needed so many books back then.
Well, the thing is every parent is,
yeah.
Whether they're your children or somebody else's. It's not like, I mean, if 2 people had a child of their own, they've never been down that road before. They're learning too. So it's no different for us in that situation. We're just a couple of years behind.
Well, I mean, me and you, we bonded on a couple of trips, leadership trips. As you remember, we were talking about some stuff. And I said, well, I got to tell you got to do this. I would do, you know, and you did. You were really good about you. I wouldn't know the girls weren't your girls. Cause
I did the same thing. I refuse to use that word.
Yeah,
I don't like.
I don't like that word.
I don't like it, and most people around Watertown don't know any different.
And to this day, I got friends that I went to school with. This is what's funny. I went to school with them, and they can put the numbers together because Gail is I'm 55, Gail's 61, and don't say that. I mean,
You might want to cut that.
Yeah, cut that part. Anyway, she's a very pretty 61. Whatever. Let's just go back that way. But they'll see me on Facebook and they say, "Oh, your son's great. Your son's." I'm like, "Well, you know that he's 40 years old. Do the math. He's." I didn't have a kid when I was like 15, so I mean, figure it out. So but I treat them just like my kids so well that they don't think no difference. And they're my boys, and every one of the boys, we have a lot of respect for them. I got one son that's in real estate. Alex is in real estate here in Murfreesboro. He's 40. I got two sons. Chad is a Warrant Officer 3 in the military in Germany, and then Benjamin's a Warrant Officer 2 in the military here. He's here in Fort Campbell right now. And both fly Blackhawks, both have great careers. The kids got taught values. They're teaching their kids values now. I mean, and that's what, I know I got away from the question a little bit, but you just got to treat the kids like your own, love them no matter what, and just try to teach them everything good that you can.
All right, you hit on something else I was going to. I know what your pride and joy is. I can just bring it up, and I can already see it coming up in your eyes, and you ain't even said nothing yet. So, just what is it like having grandkids?
Oh, best thing in the world. I'm so glad I went through learning stuff. I mean, I tell you what, I wouldn't give nothing for my grandkids. I get to go to, because of the success TNT's had, H&H had. I get to go to Germany. I went in December. I was back over in April. My wife gets to go when she wants to go. I mean, flying to Germany, I hate staying on a plane for 9.5 hours, but I love seeing my grandkids so much that I go through that 9.5 hour flight. I mean, that's after 2 hours to fly to, say Dallas, or 2 hours to wherever you're going to fly out of. Then there's 9.5 more hours on a plane. I would not do that for nothing but those grandkids. My boy, I told Chelsea, I'm not coming for you. I'm coming for my grandkids. And, I love my son and my daughter-in-law, which she's a great gal too. But they're just a joy. I tell you what, when they say Papa Tom, I just melt. And the girls, when the girls say something, it's. I feel bad for the boys. the girls are just going to get more than. I'm so glad I didn't have a daughter. I don't know how you did it, because if I'd had a daughter, I'd stayed broke. I mean, my boy, it's just grandkids are the reason you go through having your own kids. And if you've done it right, you're going to have good grandkids. And I have a 13-year-old grandkid, Jason. If we threw a football one time in Germany in April, we threw it 5,000. I was over 10 days. Every day I brought him a new football. We passed football, and he's turned into a really good receiver. I wish I had him at Watertown, where I could get him on the middle school, put him on Webster's team, let Webster and them work with him. But he's really fast, can catch really well, and grandkids are a joy. I tell you, they're worth doing all this for. But you want to make sure you set yourself up where you can play with them really well when you get older. And
I just enjoy every time the grandkids come up. You can just see a light in your eyes that comes up. That I look forward to that one day. But I just I enjoy seeing that. I like to bring them up just because I just like to see that light in your eyes light up, and it's so cool. And I enjoy that through you. So.
Well, I can tell you the best thing in the world is my granddaughter. She's 1, and she said Papa, and she said Papa. And I was like, oh, crap. She said Papa. Now, I feel bad for my wife, but I'm okay with the Papa thing, too. Because it's just, she's so pretty. My daughter-in-law, thank goodness all my boys did marry pretty girls. I mean, I'll give them back. That helps with it's just, it is what it is. I'm glad I got pretty kids, grandkids. So.
All right. So we talked about family. Now, what is your current business right now as far as just day to day? I know where we came to today. So as far as TNT, how'd that come about?
Well, it's so funny because when I was growing up, my brother worked for a concrete guy, and I said, I'm not doing that.
Famous last words.
I said, there is no way I'm doing. I did that. So I would labor for him, and you got dirty, filthy, everything. It was, and I'm like a clean freak. And
Yes.
I like being clean. I mean, I get something on my shirt, I'm ready to throw the shirt away. I don't care if you wash it or not. It's just the way I am. I've got shorts in my closet I ain't even wore. I got shirt, but when I want to wear it, I'll wear it. I'm a clothes guy and I'm a clean freak. So TNT come about. I was a GM for a company, and I was working on the weekend some with my brother, and then his wife got sick, and a great gal. She ended up passing away with cancer, and he called me. He said, "Do you want to come work full time for me?" And I said, no. So I worked a little bit full time with him, and then he said, I told him what, where I had to be in money wise, and he said that's good. And then as that went on, he said, "Why don't we just be partners?" So we started up Hoppe Brothers Concrete, and he already had a company established. I just had to really walk into a company like anybody. If he'd been in business for years, been a top concrete man in Williamson County. So I just kind of walked into the partnership. I ran the business end of it, was in the field some. You learn a lot when you're working with family, and to this day, me and my brother still real tight. But he was going through some stuff, and I decided it was the best thing for us to split up. So we split up after years of being around each other and working together. I started TNT in 2009. I've been in the concrete business a while before that, and boy, I tell you, I was trying to come up with a name. And I didn't want to be partners with nobody else. And I told my wife, I said, I'd like to have a name, but I'm not going to partner up with nobody else. And so she said, well, let's do TNT, which most people think it's dynamite. Well, actually, it stands for Tom, my first name, and Tanya. Gail's first name is Tanya. So that's how TNT came about. So one thing I knew to do is we already had a bunch of contacts. So I used my contacts, and that's what's helped TNT grow to this day. Presently, I've got guys that work for me. They do a great job. They've been with me for 13 years. Let's see, how long is TNT? 8? Was it 22?
Yeah, it's 22 right now, so you're going on 14.
Going on 14 years. Same guy's been with me. I get other guys come in and help with big jobs. Treat them good. I was in the field with them forever. Today they're working. You pick me up at a job site because I'll lay it out, and they're taking care of the job right now. They've done a really good job. I've networked a lot, and I work for maybe 2 contractors. 80% of my business is word of mouth, and I've had some of the same customers now since I started. Even before, when me and my brother were partners, I've still got some customers. But Wilson County's grown a lot. We do a lot of the decorative work, stamp work, stuff like that. So that's helped the company grow. So presently, that's where we're at right now. I stay busy year round, and I can't. That's a pretty good thing.
Yeah, you don't really get the winter like you used to, do you?
Not much. And I've gotten to the point where I pick a lot of the jobs. Well, that's a good thing, I guess. I don't want nobody to hear that. It's not saying that. It's just so much work out there, and
well, no, that's a good thing. That's because you're really good at what you do.
Yeah.
So you get to pick and choose because you've only got so much time, so you can't do everything.
Yeah.
No
way.
No way. Yeah. Except for you'd have to put people on a year waiting list, and nobody's going to wait like that.
I think over time, the leadership and the stuff that I did, what I've done is I've surrounded myself with really good subs too, and I've surrounded myself with a good team of guys. I can lead them, but it takes all of us for TNT to grow. From Gail working in the office, from the friends outside, the subs that use me, or the GCs that every now and then call me, or just word of mouth. And then my guys are great. I mean, they do a great job too. So that's helped TNT grow. I plan on. Every time, it's funny, somebody asked me the other day, well, when are you going to stop? And I said, well, I hadn't really set a time yet. I don't plan on going past the early 60s.
I appreciate TNT Concrete, because whenever I first got into the real estate business, and anybody that's in the real estate business understands this, that you don't just snap your fingers and and start making money right off the bat. It takes some time, and you gotta find some other things to do. So TNT helped me through a lot of those times of, I just needed and Tom was gracious enough that when I did get a phone call that I was able to take that phone call and him not get mad at me or fire me or anything.
Well, any business, you got to have a network. And until you get that network established, I don't care what business you're in, you got to have people like you. You got to have customers. And that's what you were doing. And I was glad to watch you do it because I believe Todd Hearn has found where he needs to be. You're great with people, and real estate is really. I've always wondered if you was running for politics because you talk to so. I mean, you know so many. You just know everybody, and which is great, and that's how you got to do. Real estate is a networking business, and you're good with people, and plus you listen to people, and that's one trait you got to have in business. You got to listen to people. And
I think that's a really good thing that you got to, in order to figure out what, and you do the same thing with TNT. In order, whenever you're talking to a customer about what they want with their concrete, you can't just go out there and say, well, I think this looks good and I'm going to do this. You got to listen to what they actually want, because if you're not getting what they want, well, then you're going to have a lot of issues, and you don't ever have those issues because you listen to what they want. And hey, maybe it don't make sense to you, but it makes sense to them. So
absolutely, who knows their property better than anybody?
Exactly.
The person that owns it. They're sitting there. They have nowadays. You can get so much information. Most people have an answer. Time you're there, what they want to do. They have a description. They have a plan, and you should be there just to guide them through that plan. You shouldn't be there to alter their plan. And I always tell people it's so funny when husband and wife start talking. And they'll say, what do you think, Mr. Hoppe? I said, well, I think Mr. Hoppe is going to go with the truck until y'all figure out what you want to do. Then y'all come up with a plan. I mean, because,
that's a dangerous position to get in.
Oh, well, any business. We're not marriage counselors. I mean, do I look like a marriage counselor? No. I mean, too good of shape, too good looking of guy. I mean, just picking on marriage counselors. No, I'm joking. I wish I was in good shape. As Gail says, you're still fooling yourself.
Yeah, well, like I said, I appreciate TNT for allowing me to work, and I enjoyed that time. We got to spend a lot of windshield time together. Yeah. I think that grew our relationship even more than it already was, and that was going through the COVID years, and when all that stuff hit, and like the two of the things that didn't really slow down was concrete and real estate.
It's crazy.
Everybody else, the rest of the world stopped, and we never barely hit a speed bump.
I'd have buddies call me, so what are you doing? I said, I'm pouring concrete. They're like, what about COVID? I'm like, we're outside. we got masks, but if you got to have a mask, but we're outside. I mean, we work outside. I will say this about TNT. It has been very good to my family. I appreciate the stuff I learned from my brother, Dale DeMoss, who started us in concrete, Tom Hoppe, who was really good in concrete, taught me a lot of stuff, and all the friends I've got. And then I appreciate it when you were there. I had fun. I mean, I knew you were getting busier when you were at the laptop a little bit more, and I knew there was going to come a time that you were going to do real estate full time. And I think, man, you've always taught. You just had to find your niche, and you found your niche.
And I had a ball when I was doing concrete. Now it's funny because if you had never done it, you don't understand.
Yeah.
You can think you're in shape.
Yeah.
But I promise you get out in the middle of concrete, you ain't until you get in that. When you get in that, you can think you're in good shape, and you start raking and start pulling concrete around. Yeah. And there was a couple of days where I came back where I had been doing and he needed me to come help on a job, and I came and helped, and I really thought they were just going to have to float me in the concrete. I thought I was just going to lay down right there.
Well, there's so many different shapes out there. There's muscle shape. But good old country strength. There's that shape. But if you're not, it's a different job. It works different muscles. It'll destroy your legs if you're not ready for it. And you just gotta, be ready for it. And you gotta hydrate. Guys don't hydrate enough. They think, I can't, just because it's cold out there don't mean you don't need some water to drink and stuff like that. But
yeah, you're the world's worst. That was one thing I always tried to make sure of. Yeah. He's always talking about everybody else. You need to drink water. You need to drink water. Well, guess who? The one person that wasn't drinking water.
Yeah. I was kind of not. Yeah.
But anyway,
you did do well.
Since on the job site you were my dad, we can. I had to take care of him and stuff. So
I still get asked that.
That's an inside joke that I don't know who started that. Who started that?
We're Bob.
Oh, is it Bob?
I couldn't believe he said, well, your son said, one of the concrete drivers had pulled up on a job site, and you had told him you were my dad, and then Bob says, I go over, I'm talking to him. He said, well, your son. I said, well, hey, Bob, let's get something straight real quick. Even though Todd wants to be my son, Todd is nowhere near young enough to be my son. I have a son in Germany. I have a son in Clarksville, and I have a son in Murfreesboro. I do not have a son on this job site. I said, look at the gray hair he's got over there. Anyway, we were talking about your hair. It was so fun. And Bob said, well, he's young enough to be your son. I said, Bob, I like you a lot, but I can request other drivers out here.
I just know we've had a lot of fun with that over a long period of time. So
it didn't help when I was where was I at, and that lady asked me if I was Jennifer's dad.
Oh goodness, I didn't know that.
Where? Yeah,
that's funny.
Jennifer's dad. Give me a break.
What's funny? I know everybody else won't get it, but how old are you? 50?
55.
55. So you're 9 years. 9 years old. So yeah. I mean, you could have had a kid when you're 9. You never know.
Yeah.
So.
I'd have to be in real good shape, I guess.
Well, thank you for coming in today, Tom, and being with me. I appreciate it on this first show.
Well, anything for you.
That's going to do it for today for this inaugural show. I really enjoyed it. This is Todd Hearn with the Real Deal Podcast. Come join us next time.